that's kind of the background and where we were. Todd, come up and talk to us about the technology.
Okay. Well, first off, I've been out of the industry of self-driving cars in particular since, wow, 1999. So I was thrilled when Martial invited me back. It's a special place. Those young people back there, I think, don't understand it yet, but Carnegie Mellon is very unique and a very special place to be if you're going to do robotics. Obviously, the people. And coming back today to see everybody has been incredible. Also, kind of the ethos. You know, there's not many places in the world that you can get a PhD, at least when I was coming in, for building Ambler, right? Building something, for doing systems integration, for building a radar. Carnegie Mellon, because of its history, has always valued applied research, and I think that's very unusual this day and age. Certainly back then it's unusual, and I think it still is. Great place for that. Also, the administration, and I wish the president was still here, but I was thinking on the flight, what exactly did Chuck and Takeo say to the president back then and the board when they were going to him say, hey, we've got these guys who are going to take this autonomous vehicle on the highway at highway speeds? What did they say to convince them to not endanger our multi-billion-dollar endowment? Yes, yeah, because we were in the car. So our administration has always been that supportive. And finally, the reputation. I've told thousands of students the best 6 letters in the alphabet are CMU PhD. And I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. No matter what I've ever done in life, whether it's football or robotics or whatever, those 6 letters have always been very important to me and are extremely valuable. Finally, I think today in here, and I wish Hans was here, Hans Moravec, we span in this room nearly the entire history of self-driving cars, from SRI and Stanford with the Stanford Cart and Shaky, CMU Terragrator and NavLab, which Chuck showed, and I'm going to include AHS in that. And then we go to Red's Grand Challenges that kind of carried the weight in the 2000s. And that mantle has sort of been taken over now by Tesla and all the other car companies that are based on, yeah, we can do this. Now, whether they're true or not, I don't know, but that's what they're moving forward. But the point being, right here, right now, maybe is the only time in history when we can look back and have people touch the beginning and also have people that are touching the forefront. So it's a very special time. All right, with that being said, I'm going to talk about the automated highway system free agent demonstration. No infrastructure, all the sensors are on the cars. We were teamed up with a great group of guys from Houston Metro, true Texans in every sense of the word, and they were great to work with. They contributed some buses. The 3 vehicle types were buses, 2 sedans, and a minivan. Had all the functions that you see on modern cars now: 360-degree sensing, warning and avoidance. We made our own digital maps because they weren't good enough then. Obviously, our actuators on the steering wheel, throttle and brake, driver interfaces, and we even had early versions of Wi-Fi for vehicle-to-vehicle communications. The goals back then, and this is actually the presentation from 1997 that I just added to. The goals were incremental deployment. All right, well, that sort of happened with warning systems and supervised full self-driving, which I guess is what Tesla calls it, beginning in the late 2000s and certainly into now. There are near-term benefits was a goal. Adaptive cruise control, lane departure warning are obvious ones, and that's a decade or more old. A goal was to use the same technology on multiple vehicle types, and there are literally hundreds of vehicles now, from the least expensive to the most expensive, that have this technology. And another one that we pushed hard was, let's not build new roads. Let's let everyone live near potential AHS. And Chuck was more modest, but I think the battle's over. We're not going to have dedicated lanes anytime soon. And it's all been the free agent, singular vehicle type solutions. There are the 5 vehicles, 40-foot transit buses, minivan, 2 sedans. Technology was very similar to what's in every car now. We had cameras, we had radar. There were lasers on the buses. Audible alerts. We had our own DGPS base stations, which sort of isn't needed anymore now. All the internal sensors like gyros, roll pitch yaw sensors, safety takeover technology, like you grab the steering wheel and you have control back, you tap the brake, you have control back. All of that were on these vehicles built in 1996 and used in 1997. The inside of the car, besides the system display in the middle, was identical to what was a stock car back then. I guess the head-up display was used on some Cadillacs. The guys at Delco did a nice job integrating an early version of a flat panel display into the dashboard, as well as audible alerts and feedback, and they put some special buttons on the steering wheels for us. So it was very, very slick for a 1997 vehicle. Now, the trunk is very interesting, and you can ignore everything in there except all of these vehicles and all of the capabilities was powered by one Pentium Pro computer running QNX operating system and less than 70,000 lines of C code. Now, I'll have to say it may have been very poorly commented code without many safety checks, but it was a very compact code base doing all the steering, throttle, and brake. You'll see this more in the video, but this is essentially what the system did. It used a radar to look out at the road ahead. It used a vision system to figure out where the lane markings were, or where the lane was, not so much the markings. It would integrate those two together and then make decisions about how to stay safe in its lane, both with the steering wheel and the throttle and the brake. In the picture, you can see the axis and the yellow and green axis, or the radar. You can kind of tell the outline of the road. And as you can see in the picture, and we kind of paid homage to the NavLab with the little blue truck looking thing, it actually could see what was around it. The side radars would tell you if there was a vehicle next to you so it wouldn't change lanes automatically. It was able to detect obstacles, and we did set up a technology where it would pass through this early version of Wi-Fi to vehicles behind it. There was an obstacle there, so they could actually change lanes without seeing the obstacle, and we'll see this in the video. All in all, it was very successful. Of the, 100 runs we did, 91 were successful. The buses over this 8-mile track in San Diego, California, were 40 for 40. 99% of the people miles were successful, and I think, 800 demo riders and 1,500 total riders, including the test sessions. In that, 2 or 3 week span, we tested and drove over 12,000 miles with 5 vehicles. And since the statute of limitations has now ended, we didn't crash, unlike some of the other teams. Richard, you're welcome to explain that more. Areas for improvement back then, complete obstacle coverage. Now, I said it was 360 degrees. It was. But the sides and the rear were very coarse radars that had maybe 1 or 2 beams, so it was very coarse, you couldn't tell. The forward radar had 8 beams, so it wasn't very well localized like it is now, so that was an area for improvement. Also, like now, vision in harsh conditions. I was amazed, frankly, at some of the things Dean did with Alvin and Ralph, and how he did the vision processing was incredible. But if you can't see, you can't see, at least in the visible spectrum. So things like fog back then, clearly a problem. That would still be a problem now. And obstacle detection. Larry, can we detect negative obstacles yet? Never, exactly. So that continues. That was a problem then and continues to be a problem now. So having said that, though, I have a Tesla. And when I go on the highway, I legitimately can put it in cruise control, auto cruise, whatever they call it. And I do feel more relaxed in that situation. And maybe it's because of my background and I trust it, but I think they've largely, for normal traffic conditions, done a really good job solving that problem. On the other hand, you're nuts if you hit that button when you're on state roads or in city driving. I'm scared to death whenever I get in the car, and I don't even do that in the city. So I think there's still a very, very long way to go with these technologies before Chuck can drive off into retirement. Okay. So the video I'm going to put up is sort of a video I edited to make it shorter. I'm going to try and do it here myself. of the AHS demo. At the end, Chuck, you stole my thunder. I put in the obligatory picture of all of you guys in the back of the nav lab. But is Ryan Stentz here? Ryan, did you see your dad in the picture? Okay. All right, I may need help. Automated highway system. There we go. Short. Does this have sound? Okay. With a variety of sensors to see the road, traffic, and obstacles around it. It has a radar buried in the front bumper, a miniature TV camera mounted behind the rearview mirror, a GPS satellite positioning antenna on the roof, a LiDAR to look for traffic behind and in adjacent lanes, and sensors for vehicle speed and heading. As I drive along, I turn on the intelligent cruise control and the NavLab 6 keeps a safe distance from the car ahead automatically. The computer systems are constantly watching the road and its surroundings. Ralph, the vision system, tracks the road by looking for lane markings and any other features which are high in contrast and parallel to the road, such as shoulder edges or pavement joints. The radar on the NavLab is an advanced model. Unlike most automotive radars, which only measure range to other vehicles, this radar can also measure relative speed and bearing. When the computer puts together the road location from Ralph with the target locations from the radar, it can determine if another vehicle is in its own lane, the next lane, or on the shoulder, even when the road is curving. When I hit the interstate, I switch the NavLab into autonomous mode. It is constantly monitoring the position of other vehicles around me and keeping an internal model of what they might do and how it needs to maneuver for safe, defensive driving. As we travel, the NavLab 6 detects other smart cars and buses. Since those vehicles drive more predictably and communicate with each other by radio, the NavLab can close up the gaps with those vehicles. As the NavLab drives around a curve, its radar sees an obstacle, and the vision system correctly detects that the obstacle is in its own lane. It also radios a warning to following automated vehicles so they can make a safe maneuver before they even see the obstacle. All right, so the question I have, Tony and Chuck, who is that? Do we know? Larry? I thought Larry. It looks like Carl. All right, we'll have to find that out. All right, in any case, that's all I have. Thank you guys very much. Chuck, back to you. All right.